I want to talk about DeAndre Hopkins, how realistic this signing could actually be going forward. Of the Eagles having this much interest in him, I think there is real interest here. I think within a week, he could be signed. Some other news has come out on obviously what he wants to get paid, what he's kind of looking for in a team that we kind of already know, but I think the numbers really speak for itself and what he wants and how realistic or unrealistic it really is. I want to go over free agents by June 1st and realistic trades for the Philadelphia Eagles if they really want to upgrade this roster, whether it's on offense or defense. And a little bit of news on Jalen Hurts, like I said before. So let's get straight into it.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, I hope everyone's having a great day, a great Memorial Day weekend. I hope everybody is enjoying themselves. And anybody has, honestly, family members that have passed or have family in the military or a friend or whoever, definitely appreciate them for all they have done for us over, the years of service. So I want to thank those people a lot for that. Number two of this whole thing with DeAndre Hopkins is very interesting here. Now, we're kind of sitting here figuring, what are the numbers? What is he going to want? What's going on? So obviously some rumors did come out that DeAndre Hopkins is looking for a contract, $23 million a year. I mean, that's not going to happen. Let's be a little realistic here. First it was 12, now it's 23. I mean, at this, what is he, 30, 31 years old, whatever it is, 31, 32, whatever. DeAndre Hopkins is not going to get that number. Yeah, this is too late in the process to start negotiating what you want. Number one, you're not a number one anymore. Okay, I think he has definitely stepped down a little bit. I still think he's really productive, but I feel like there's, obviously the PD usage to, getting suspended and has had recent injuries as well. And I just don't think that number for $23 million a year is really going to be that realistic for him. Okay. I'm on board for guys that want to get paid, but this has got to be the year for DeAndre Hopkins. What will be the most successful way to be, to have a successful year with a team that will get you that big contract? I think he needs to prove himself for a year, get his statistics up, and really work on cashing in next year if that's what he wants to do in 24, next season. Okay, with the Philadelphia Eagles now, and now with the interest level that DeAndre Hopkins probably does have, well, not just the Eagles, but probably a few teams. I'm kind of just really excited to see how this whole thing is, what's going to happen, where is he going to go? Okay, with DeAndre Hopkins, it's going to come down to what's more important. If he really wants that ring and he wants to get to a championship team with a stable front office and playing with a great quarterback, he's got to cut some losses. Unless he's going to the AFC, the only way he's going to the AFC is if I think KC signs him, but the cap space is a little crazy right now. It was over $1 million, not even that, for the cap space for KC. His easy road is going to be going to the Philadelphia Eagles, at least signing with a team in the NFC, because it's, obviously the conference is so weak right now. And I think that's going to be his best opportunity, and is he willing to be a pure slot receiver? That's going to be a whole nother thing too, because he likes being that focal point. Can DeAndre Hopkins fit into this culture? Can he play as a number 3, not be a main focal point, and not complain about how many, that the ball's not coming his way that much? That's why I like this team so much. And really the standard has been set with Nick Sirianni, this culture, selfless teammates that obviously don't care, are not selfish and are not going to worry about, as long as those W's, as long as they're winning games, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Obviously you had 2 1,000-yard receivers last year. You had a 1,000-yard running back, and Jalen Hurts had a fantastic year. Okay. This is what he's going to have to deal with. And obviously wide receiver 3 is probably one of the worst spots because, the ball comes your way when it comes your way. That you're the third option. He might even be the fourth option because Dallas Goedert is going to have more value than DeAndre Hopkins will on the field because they like using him. Dallas Goedert's a great player. So that's what you're really risking right now. And that's going to be like, see, if we didn't have A.J. Brown, I would say, okay, this is very easy. You just sign him, boom, it's done, and he could be a starter on the outside and get a lot of attention. But, he'll still get attention. And trust me, him on the inside between Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, this offensive line, Jalen Hurts extending plays. DeAndre Hopkins would be a force to be reckoned with. Teams would fear us even more. It would be game over. As much as I think this roster is so good offensively, because really at the end of the day, you really didn't lose anybody offensively. Our offense was still intact, during free agency. You lost Isaac Samalo. I'm not really worried about that because tylersteen or Cam Jurgens will be in that spot. And you lost Miles Sanders, which the Eagles were just not going to pay him. They went out and got Rashad Penny. They went out and got DeAndre Swift, so they got some low risk, high reward moves right now. Obviously guys with past injury, especially in the running back rotation, but with the wide receivers right now, I am not signing DeAndre Hopkins to take snaps away from nobody. He's either going to be a wide receiver 3. Quez can be obviously depth if that's the case, and that's all I'm really putting towards it. I'm not doing anything else towards him having being more of a focus in this offense and taking snaps away from somebody. Nick Sirianni's not stupid. He's not going to do that. So $23 million a year, you're asking a big price. Free agency is over with. Free agency is obviously still going on until week 9 of the trade deadline, or at least free agents are always available all year. But the main meat and potatoes, I can't even talk. The main meat and potatoes of free agency is over with. Like, that part is over with now. Teams have drafted their guys. Teams have paid their players. So how much money do these teams can allocate to DeAndre Hopkins? They can't give him what he wants unless there's a team out there that is willing, that has a lot of cap space, that's willing to give. What teams are really need wide receivers right now? You know what I mean? I could feel like obviously the Bills, the Chargers. So we kind of talked about KC a little bit, but their cap is kind of crazy right now. The Eagles have over $13 million in cap space, so they're in a really good place right now. Where if DeAndre Hopkins really wants to play with Jalen Hurts, he could do it. And if he wants to get a bigger contract next year in 24, then you play for the Eagles on a 1-year deal and just, that's it. That's all you really do. That's all he really has to do, because the more he gets picky, the longer he's going to be a free agent, because teams are not going to pay him. Teams are going to pay him $12 million. Teams are going to pay him $23 million. So it's just not going to happen. And if someone does, I'll be shocked. But, maybe a team that end up getting him, as much, I think there's one team that really should, besides the Eagles, since we're really loaded. If there's one team that really needs him right now, it's the New York Giants, because that wide receiver core is not doing it. Waller is not going to do it for me. You pay your quarterback and don't put weapons around. And, when you look at the New York Giants, who do you really fear, in that offense? Really nobody. You know what I mean? Hyatt, is a, Hyatt might be a good player in a year. I don't know what he's going to bring to the table in his first year. You know what I mean? It could be a steal. I thought he was a good draft pick for them, but that's just an example of teams that are really needy at that position. But the Eagles, I think, have a lot of interest, and it's really going to depend on, if the Eagles back out of this, it's because of the number he wants, and it's ridiculous. That's where I think it's going to get kind of crazy. So I think realistically there is interest here, but his asking price has to significantly go down. Like, this year has to be like a veteran minimum at this point, or at least throw him some bonus money for the year. I don't care what you do, but try to get it done if you can. Not saying we need DeAndre Hopkins, but why not add more firepower? I don't mind it. The GM has been doing so well the past 3 drafts, 3 free agencies, and 3 years of trades. I can't complain about an extra move like this, as long as he is into the culture and fits here and is not going to be selfish. He's more than welcome here. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on, and I think there's a lot to really talk about with this, and I think the interest is there, guys. We just got to be patient. I think something's going to happen within a week, and we'll see. Now I want to go over, obviously, realistic trade options for the Eagles and free agents. Now, obviously, free agents are easier to sign because you don't have to deal with teams and negotiating for draft compensation, because To be honest, guys, I really don't want to give up any draft picks to any teams right now. I think we're more in the free agent range of things. Like if you want to go after a defensive end, you go after, Leonard Floyd, Yannick Ngakoue, Frank Clark, whoever's really out there, you can go after them easily and probably won't get paid crazy amounts of money. Even when you look at certain things now, certain trades that do make sense for the Eagles right now, and I think these are at least two of them out there that the Eagles can do, and that's really at linebacker, is where you're not going to be able to pay that much draft compensation wise. It's going to be Patrick Queen from the Ravens or Isaiah Simmons from the Cardinals. Both are still on rookie deals, hence why even though you're giving up a draft pick and even though they're just not going to be expensive when they have one more year left on their deals. I don't know how much Patrick Queen's contract is for his last year. I thought it was like $4 million for the year, a $4 million cap hit. So it's really not that much. And that's why it makes more sense to trade for a guy like that will come in, fit in immediately. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to, if the Eagles want to make a decision, like Patrick Queen comes in, he plays really well, then hey, maybe they'll sign him. But, the Eagles aren't paying linebackers that much money. I mean, I don't think one linebacker is making over like $2 million this year. I mean, literally, Nicholas Morrow and Nakobe Dean, you know what I mean? The guy they have undrafted from Michigan State. I mean, there's really nothing there. I feel like they need another body there. I talked about defensive end. I feel like trenches are so important right now, and I don't really have too much faith in Derek Barnett, so I think they add another defensive end, and I think the only name that they've been kind of linked to right now is Leonard Floyd. But if you're going to make a trade, you're not trading for a safety. It's not going to happen. Buda Baker's off the table. Kevin Byard's off the table. It's just not going to happen because they're going to want too much. Buda Baker is just too good for us to just steal from them. Okay. Unless he, Buda Baker says he's necessarily not looking for a new contract. It's just all these players from the Cardinals just want to leave. I don't know. I guess it's just new management. It's Jonathan Gannon. I don't know what's going on over there, but everybody wants to leave. So I don't think it's too realistic. And, it's just to a point now where I feel like they're going to hit the free agent pool more than the trades. But if there's one guy they really do want to trade for that they'll get on a bargain, I don't like giving away draft picks for rentals. That's what I can't stand. Like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, you gave away 2 picks for nothing. Not for nothing. He played well, but you didn't end up signing him. And I think the Eagles had a plan to re-sign him. Robert Quinn, you gave away a 4th-round pick to the Bears and did nothing. At least he did nothing. He had a half a sack. I think that was pretty much it. Coming off a 10-sack season with the Bears and did nothing with the Eagles. And obviously he was hurt and something happened. I mean, the Eagles didn't really pay him much money. It was like $700,000 for the year. They voided another year on his contract, so he had 2 more years left, but they voided it to 1. It's just kind of nuts. Isaiah Simmons and Patrick Queen trades make more sense because they're on the rookie deals, and like I said, the cap hits are nothing. The cap hits are very low for those 2 players. Kevin Byard wants more money right now. The Eagles already hit on safety so much already. I know they picked up obviously picking up Edmonds, and then picking up obviously Reed Blankenship is still here with a nice little sample size he gave us last year. Justin Evans is here, which he's a 2nd-round pick from the Tampa Bay Bucks in 2017, but he's been hurt every single year. And Kavon Wallace still in the building. So, safety, there's a lot of bodies, but there's a lot of competition. And obviously, if Keely Ringo is a cornerback right now for the Eagles, I'd be cross-training him to safety as well. I'd be literally having him work 2 positions in training camp to joint practices and obviously these preseason games. So I think there's a lot of different things you do at safety, but because they hit on safety so many times this year already, they hit that spot a few times, I just don't see them going after that position again in a trade unless there's a free agent out there, which I don't think there's any good safeties out there unless you're bringing somebody out of retirement or something like that. There is nothing really left out there. Okay, so I think they leave that part alone. They leave that position alone. But like I said, I think Patrick Queen is very, very realistic. I think Isaiah Simmons is very realistic. I think Julio Jones could be realistic. Now, the difference between signing a DeAndre Hopkins to a Julio Jones is Julio Jones has lost more of a step than DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, so and he's always hurt, more hurt than D-Hop. So, if you sign, and this is a move I wouldn't mind. We talked about it the other day. I mean, if you sign Julio Jones, I feel like he will be just a depth piece for the Eagles. Like if AJ Brown gets hurt or something like that, he comes right in, plays for a game or two, whatever, and I think could do well. If he's healthy, he'll do enough just because he has really good weapons around him, good quarterback, good running backs, good offensive line. There's a team around him. He's not trying to be the main guy. That's the thing. You know what I mean? So that would make more sense too, getting Julio Jones, and I would be fine with it. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I think that would be a monster signing for a depth move, which stabilizes that depth at wide receiver. Because realistically, if Devontae Smith gets hurt or AJ Brown gets hurt, who comes in? I mean, really, like if AJ Brown, like I'm knocking on wood. I am knocking on wood right now. Okay. If one of those two guys gets hurt for the whole entire year, what do you have? I mean, there's really nothing back there. We don't know as of right now. We can't tell the future. So we don't know how we don't know how Jaden Hazelwood's going to play. Joseph Nagata is going to play. You know what I mean? Undrafted guys, are they really going to take a spot up? Is it key? I mean, I don't know what they're doing. Obviously, the offense is going to change a little bit if they lose a player, but, Julio Jones is there, veteran presence, and knows how to be an outside receiver. So if he stays healthy and obviously somebody goes down or something like that, he could take the spot for a couple games or the whole year or whatever, and we got to see how he does and see if he could stay healthy and all that other stuff. And then like I said, defensive ends, I feel like that's going to be the first position they go after is going to be defensive ends. I feel like they're going to sign one of the 3-4 guys that are available. I think it will be Yannick Ngakoue because he's always wanted to play for the Eagles. He knows the Eagles defensive line is monstrous right now and wants to be an added piece to that. Would be perfect. And I think Leonard Floyd would be a really good fit too. Both players over 9 to 9.5 sacks for the year, which is really good. Like I said, there's certain trades that make sense and there's certain ones that just don't. If there's certain trades for really, really, really good players like Budda Baker or Kevin Byard, it's off the table. And, it's weird because they're two safeties, obviously, but two very good ones. Guys like Patrick Queen, guys like, Julio Jones, guys like that. I mean, not Julio Jones, guys like Patrick Queen, Isaiah Simmons are more realistic via trade because they're not going to cost much to put on your roster. But the flip side of that is I don't want to give up draft compensation for a rental. That I know how he likes to do that. I just can't stand it. You know what I mean? You lost 3 draft picks, literally. I mean, he lost three draft packs between Robert Quinn and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but they got some of those picks back. They traded some stuff. They got some things. So they didn't really lose much of anything, but still, like, if you plan to sign a guy next year and you give up, some draft capital, it is what it is. If it's a draft pick, like DeAndre Swift trade, obviously they gave up a 25 4th round pick, whatever it was. I mean, that's just like, we got him for nothing. That's a draft in 2 years. That you got the player for free at the end of the day with a low cap number. So that's where I kind of go on if you're going to trade for a guy and not sign him, you got to make a sacrifice, and I have to respect Howie for that because he is sacrificing draft capital to get good players in here and obviously to win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? When you don't win that Super Bowl and you make all these moves, it feels like it's a wasted year at some points. Even though it's a good year, you didn't hit your main goal. And I think, that was Howie Roseman at the end of the year last year was pit of his stomach, scarred of what happened in that game. I think all of us were. And now a new year, some new coaches, and a lot of good players. This roster is still very good. You got your quarterback here long term, and that's the next segment I'm really going into, and that's Jalen Hurts. Okay, now, Jalen Hurts obviously put something on his Instagram, put a post up on his Instagram saying hungrier than ever. I think the one thing I got to say about Jalen Hurts is that I like that he's not like the biggest like social media guy that talks nonstop. I'm really glad we have a guy that doesn't put too much attention on himself. Like obviously he'll put a tweet out after a game or a win or after a loss or something like that, but he's not really like, posting stuff all day. And he's not, he leads by example with his actions on the field. And that's what I like. Obviously Jalen Hurts has a lot to say at these press conferences. We were very, very impressed by what he did last year with this team and how these players really gravitated towards him as a quarterback, and how Nick created this culture, and obviously Jalen with his leadership is just intoxicating. It's obsessive and people want to join that. And I really do like how the players just, they play for a guy that are going to leave their blood, sweat, and tears on the field. And that's what you're getting out of players that play with Jalen Hurts. And I think that's why he gets so much respect, and he's a professional off the field. He's not a knucklehead. He's not an idiot. He doesn't do stupid things. He doesn't get attention. So nothing really phases him. And not really surprising, but I didn't know how Jalen Hurts would react to just being in the Super Bowl. Like, he treated that game like it was a normal game. He barely looked nervous. He barely it barely fazed him. And I was really impressed, because I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 people being in a Super Bowl, especially for the first time, especially at you're 3 years in the league, a 2-year starter, really, at the end of the day. And he just seemed flawless, man. It seemed like nothing really bothered him at all. And I have to give him all the respect for that. And since he obviously has won, obviously winning a couple playoff games now, and I know getting to a Super Bowl and not winning, I think is only going to make him more hungry. And obviously, like he said at his press conference when he got paid, the first quarterback to get paid this year, thank God, $19 million cap hit the next 2 seasons. This year and next year is a $19 million cap hit. He is one of the lowest cap hits. Now, obviously, Jalen Hurts is not going to be the highest paid quarterback, because other quarterbacks are going to get paid. And, Hurts says money is nice, but championships are better. That line I will never forget. And when he wins a championship, it's all going to come full circle. It's all going to come full circle, and Jalen Hurts has earned the respect of everybody and his players and who wants to play with him. And I love how just this front office, and I don't know what happened, but the last, counting this year too, the offseason wise, you signed this quarterback. Even before he was signed long-term, you put weapons around him. So you already knew, or, they already knew in their minds they were going to sign him long-term. You know what I mean? You don't just start putting weapons around a guy, obviously, like when the contract is happening, like when he's 2 years, 3 years into the contract, when he got to this third year, obviously that's when they really started to amp up the weapons on this team last year, and it put this team over the top. You know what I mean? So not only did Jalen Hurts worked his money, and what he got is what he got. What was it, 52 a year? Whatever it was for 6 years on a 6-year deal. But at the same time, the cap relief of what you could do with this quarterback. So really, his biggest cap number is $30 million in 26 or whatever, 27, whatever it is. Okay, which is kind of nuts, because, or 28, whatever his last year of his contract is. It's the most expensive year. His last year is the most expensive year. So if obviously the Eagles want to re-sign him, that cap number is probably not even going to exist. So I don't know. I know I'm going off the deep end with it a little bit, but I'm excited for Jalen Hurts this year, and I'm just so glad that I feel safe. I feel good in my heart that we got this contract for him. We have a quarterback now. That's all done. Because it gets you nervous on, like, is the deal going to get done? Does he want more money? He didn't fight the Eagles about anything. I mean, this deal got done. It was great on both sides. There was no issues. There was no problems. Everything was perfect. And this draft was perfect, and everything was perfect. So to get these guys together, and I want to see some of the offseason stuff that Jalen Hurts does with the guys. I'm really excited about that. Kind of like last year when they had A.J. Brown and Quez and the rest of the receivers. He was working his tail off with the rest of the guys, and he's just a natural-born leader, man. And obviously, like, there's some quarterbacks that show that Jalen Hurts mentality when they get drafted, or they're in the, they talk a big game before the season starts, but really just... there's a lot of talkers out there, but this guy, man, this guy just he does what he says, and I really love that. And obviously, before Jalen Hurts, existed, we were dealing with, I'll do better every game. I'll do better. We gotta do better. Every game it was the same. It was the same nonsense. And when I've never wanted to hear press conferences in my life of Jalen Hurts, literally, I mean, of Carson Wentz. Every time Jalen Hurts press conference is on, I don't care when it is during the year, I always listen to it. I've never been so interested to hear a quarterback speak because I know we're getting the real him at the end of the day. We're not getting a PR statement or some BS answer that we get from most of these guys. Okay? We're getting like the realism of himself, and that's what makes him like respect, gets him that respect, and the accolades, man, just what he's got, what he's proven already. He's got no Super Bowl under his belt. He hasn't won a championship yet, but it's coming. It's going to happen. Give it time. I honestly believe they can win 3 Super Bowls with this guy in 6 years. At least two. I feel like they could do it. The golden years for the Philadelphia Eagles is now. And that's all I got to say. So, sorry, I want to rant on Jalen Hurts a little bit. I've just been so happy with him. And, it's one of the bright spots to this team that really keeps his team, like, boom, focused. Like, what happens when this team isn't focused? Like, I want to find out, like, if this team falls apart or something happens, like what is Jalen Hurts going to do to keep the team together? Like, that's the one thing I want to see. You know what I mean? Because when he's hurt or when he's, not doing other things, or when he was hurt, he was helping Minshew on the sideline. He was being like pretty much a coach on the sideline. I mean, it's just amazing what this guy does. This guy doesn't take anything for granted. He doesn't get jealous if another quarterback's in there playing well. I mean, he's all about the team. I mean, when you're benched for a national championship game and someone takes your spot, wins the game, and you're celebrating when most of the people out there and our news outlets are going to ask you, like, well, how do you feel? How'd you feel about getting benched? Like, I don't care about getting benched. We won the game. Like, we won. He didn't care about getting benched in the national championship game. You know what I mean? Like, that's most quarterbacks that go through that in college do not make it in the NFL. Like, that's you just don't make it. Like, I've never seen a story like this in my life. I've never seen a story like this. And with Jalen Hurts and his story and it's insane. But I'm not going to go any more further than that. But long video. It's 26 minutes. Sorry. But we had a lot to talk about today with the Philadelphia Eagles. If you lasted this long in this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you liked the video as well. More content is coming. And obviously we're going to be going through a dead zone of, really nothing going on. So I'd give it another like 2 weeks, really, but really after the second week of June, things are going to die down tremendously because, training camp will be the next thing, and, not for a while, for another month. We're going to have like a month off from doing things. That's the news for the Philadelphia Eagles. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it kept you busy on Sunday. You guys enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day weekend. I will see you guys soon. You guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes, what up, fellas? Peace out, guys. Peace.